Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Bogdanovic Wolverine number 5. Now, in past reviews, I've talked about how modern comic books can be boring at times because they get drugged down by exposition dumps and huge blocks of dialogue or just boring, flat panels. Now, with that said, I have to say I absolutely hate this cover. Not because not because it's trying to raise awareness about COVID. I get it, shelter in place. I get it, but look at compared to what you'd expect from a comic book, like on a cover. So let me show for an example. One that I'm eventually going to be going over is, let's put these side by side for comparison, so y'all don't think that I'm just being mean for mean's sake. Look at X-Force number 11. Domino revealed. Dynamicness. Wade coming at her reacting. Shatterstar in the bottom, attacking. And even the little 30th anniversary thing of The Amazing Spider-Man has that Todd McFarlane look to it with all the spaghetti webs. Dynamic. Makes you want to read it. Now, look at these flat panels. Flat angle. Boring color scheme. It looks like something you'd see on like Tumblr art, like a web comic. For example, someone has to rush stuff out weekly, like old school web comics, if y'all still remember web comics. So that's why when I saw this was the only cover at my local comic shop, so I didn't have a choice. So, I appreciate that they're trying to raise awareness. Good, I appreciate that. But the artwork is just... It does not make you want to walk into a store and pick it up, especially if you don't know what the subject matter is from afar when you walk into your store. When you walk into your comic shop, you want to look on the wall and you go, oh my God, that is a beautiful cover, and then brings you over. This does not do that. But with that out of the way, thankfully this was a variant, not the main cover, which I wish I could have found. When you open this bad boy up, you get some better art. Now, last issue, Logan left Krakoa because he's been butting heads and he's kind of sick of the games being played on Krakoa, just like I am, hence why I'm not reading a lot of the Bogdanovic titles. I've honestly been enjoying more of the titles that don't even take place on Krakoa, and it really falls into Benjamin Percy because he's both writing Wolverine and X-Force, and those have been the two books that I've been enjoying. Now, last issue, Wolverine came back to Canada, trying to kind of sequester, but he's being framed for all these murders. And he ends up getting entangled with the vampires, as we saw in issue 1, where it all kind of started out. And we get a little bit of exposition, but it sets up the stakes because we see how Dracula is trying to turn the tides with the vampire nation. Plus, I like this straight-on panel of Logan being stuck in the ice because you're just kind of like... Reminds me of the old school Batman 66 where it's like, what's going to happen to our hero? Will he be icicle? And how they used to always make those kind of rhyme. But anyway, it's interesting, and you see the stakes, you see the brutality of it, and then you get this, which I'm so tired of these panels. I'm ready to go back to regular X-Men books and not all this over-explaining. To me, it's so boring in these white pages. Like, it made sense when they were doing the Powers of 10 and House of X, but I kind of wish they would have sort of scrapped it afterwards. Even trying to decipher the Krakoa language, I don't care anymore. But anyway, this book was made by Benjamin Percy, writer, Viktor Bogdanovic doing the art, Matthew Wilson doing the color, VC's Corey Petit doing the lettering, everyone else here that's been working on the book, and Wolverine was created by Len Wein. And this is called Blood Clots. Clocks. Yeah, not clogs, clots. And I like this because you find out why the vampires are moving through Canada. And they're moving through all these little towns. Why? Read the book. But you see this guy pulling over stopping the truck. He's like, what's your freight? Meat. Well, I'm going to need to take a look. And what he sees scares him. He goes, oh, holy hell. And the vampires say, as I said, we traffic in meat. And that's how the book starts. You are engaged. You're like, oh, geez, what's going on? What happened with Wolverine? And why are all these people getting hurt? Well, because we can't have our main character of the book die, obviously he's going to get rescued. And by serendipity, he does escape. And he is none too happy. He starts hunting these little vampires that took him, and they're just like, now we're gonna, But sadly, at this point, I'd love to have seen more action, especially seeing this kind of like old school feeling of Wolverine. We have to stop for exposition. But the scenes, like what really kind of makes it with me for this book is the vampire scenes. Because it reminds me of like 30 Days of Night. If you haven't read that old book by, I think it was IDW. Let me know if I'm right, if it was IDW that did 30 Days of Night back in the day. But I love this panel, this dynamic. Wolverine takes on these young vampires that don't want to be like their predecessors. And that's awesome because you see what's going to happen. But what kind of kills me, I don't want to give away the action that does happen. It's really cool. It sucked me in. I had fun reading this book minus some of the stopping and talking points. That I think is just contributed to Benjamin Percy originally being an author, like a novelist before being a comic book writer. And he said that it's been kind of a different change for him. And so I'm willing to give him a pass on that because with each book, I feel like he gets better. And then Viktor Bogdanovic's pencils, I loved him on The Silencer, which if you've not read The Silencer, we will eventually go over The Silencer. And what kind of kills me is I want to see more of this, but they have to set everything up for that, what is that, X of Swords or Swords of X or whatever. But I like how they kind of, he's like, not now, I got to do. Your concerns matter little. You are needed elsewhere. So this is obvious who this is, which I would have liked to see Wolverine on his own instead of Marvel, of course, having to do, as I've said before, yet another event. So that's probably the only like wet fart part for me on this book is setting up for another event instead of Logan just being solo, going on his own and kicking butt and taking names. Like I want to see, I don't remember her name, but that Night Hunter or the Night Guard, whatever it is that he met in issue 1, she was an interesting character. I want to see more of her. Hey, Benjamin Percy, bring her back. She was cool. I want to see more of her team up with Wolverine. Now, if we want to do another variant like this too, can we make it a little more engaging instead of webcomic-y art? Because I've been meaning to do this issue for a while, but this cover just kind of was like, ugh. But at least when you open it, the artwork's awesome. So with that said, if you have enjoyed this comic book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little adamantium bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your feedback down in the comments below. Or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to also leave the links down in the description. And with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.